Now, that was really interesting because many refugees who have come to the UK have ended up in cities, but this was a small village, so not necessarily what you'd expect.
Yeah, no existing Ukrainian community there. Some people thought, can we cope? Are we going to be able to deal with this many people? Can we give them what they need in terms of transport, getting around? But yeah, tremendous amount of goodwill there. Thank you to the people of Oak Hill and the surrounding hamlets for talking to us.
Yes, and we can speak now to Krish Kandaya from the Sanctuary Foundation charity, along with Vitaly Shevchenko from BBC Monitoring, whose mum and aunt had to flee Ukraine because of the war. Can we get an update on them, first of all?
They're settling in and settling down.
Yeah.
They're okay, but they miss their home bitterly.
Yeah. What have been the challenges of settling in? Because it's one thing getting here, it's another building a life for who knows how long.
The biggest challenge, I would say, even though we all know that they're safe here, is watching the horror of what's happening in their home city from a distance. There's almost a feeling of guilt, I think. For example, last night, after midnight Ukrainian time, I messaged my friends back home to congratulate them on Independence Day. It was like 1 minute past midnight, and they said, well, guess what? The shelling has started. So that's the kind of thing that hits you in the stomach.
Yeah.
You know you're safe here, but watching what's unfolding where you grew up, it's difficult.
It's so tough for those families. Of course, they are grateful for the host families, the support they're getting, the fact that, you know, people here have welcomed them with open arms. But then that longing for home, it's not easy to settle in a place that's completely new and then feeling that guilt on top of that. Krish, 6 months since this scheme started, has it been a success overall, would you say?
I think overall it has been a success. You know, 115,000 Ukrainians coming to the UK in 4 months is incredible. Many are staying with family, like Vitaly, about 30,000 there, but 85,000 staying in ordinary people's homes, like we saw in the video. I'm living with a Ukrainian lady. My family have embraced her. She's become part of our family. We're hearing stories right across the nation of incredible hospitality. And for me, I think that's the best way we can fight this terrible aggression, is with compassion and kindness to people that need it. And this is history. You know, the last time we saw people being hosted in people's homes like this was in 1939, when 10,000 Jewish children fled the Nazis. And that's one of our proudest moments as a nation. We build statues about it outside of stations. I'm wondering if in a few years we'll build statues to celebrate the hospitality of the British public towards Ukrainians.
And yet, we shouldn't idealise or sugarcoat this, because it's a challenge, obviously, for the Ukrainian families who've come over. It's a challenge for the host families at times as well, as Robin was telling us in the film. And the financial cost as well for them. They get, was it £350 per month for hosting? But with bills going up and some of these large families, there are questions now about whether that's going to be enough, whether we should up the money. Do you think that's a realistic prospect?
Lord Harrington, the Minister for Refugees, he's asked the Treasury to up it to £700 a month. We've had 3,400 hosts write an open letter at the Sanctuary Foundation website to say, look, we love hosting. We think it's an incredible privilege, but government, please help us to keep helping. There is a massive need for more hosts. As you can see, the war in Ukraine isn't getting any better, it's getting worse. And so more vulnerable people now need to come to the UK. So we've got a big campaign on right now called It's Not Too Late to Host, because we think a lot of people there are moved by what they see on the TV, know they can make a big difference in people's lives, and this is a really practical way they can help.
Do you think that's the biggest block, the biggest challenge at the moment, the financial implication of hosting at a time when people's bills are spiralling?
I'm not sure if it's the biggest challenge. I think a lot of people thought about doing it at the beginning, and it felt a bit complicated and new. I think the systems are working a lot better now. Like, it used to take 5 or 6 weeks to get a visa. We've met people that had their visas turned around in 2 days. So the systems are better. Local authorities are coming around and checking your house is OK, doing the DBS checks. So the system's a lot smoother now, and I think the public just don't know that yet. Yesterday, we were helping a little girl who lives next door to us. She's 7 years old. She was riding riding her bike for the first time, zooming around a park, cheering. And I thought, look, if she wasn't here, she'd be in Ukraine. She probably couldn't ride her bike outside because we're fearful for shelling. So we can give people such hope and such a chance of a normal life. It's an incredible opportunity.
Vitaly, let's talk about the situation back in Ukraine, though, because on this day, it's a hugely significant day in terms of the anniversary of independence, as well as 6 months on since the invasion. You said your friends and family have been talking about still hearing the shelling, and for the people who are still there, nothing much has changed, has it?
It's deeply symbolic that this year the anniversary of independence falls on the day which also marks the 6-month anniversary of Russia invading Ukraine again in February. And I think it's fair to say that 31 years ago, Ukraine received its independence from the hands of former communist apparatchiks as the Soviet Union fell apart. But right now, we see a new nation being forged. Ukrainians are rediscovering their identity. They are discovering what it takes to be independent, the price you have to pay. And we've seen this war, we've seen that it brings out the best and the worst in people. We've seen unspeakable atrocities being committed, but also so many people have gone to help other people in Ukraine to deliver humanitarian supplies. They're risking their life and limb by evacuating Ukrainians from really dangerous war zones. And I'm not talking about Ukrainians, I'm talking about British people as well. So many British people have opened up their homes to Ukrainian refugees, and guess what? It's not gone unnoticed. My friends back home, and also various guests we've had on Ukrainecast, the BBC's podcast, they've been saying, look, Vitaly, you're in Britain, can you say thank you to the British people? So, British people, we thank you.
OK. Thank you for both for joining us. And the shirt you're wearing, is that's a traditional Ukrainian shirt on this day?
It is. This is what Ukrainians wear on this day. It's called Vyshyvanka, and it's one of the most powerful symbols of Ukrainian identity. It's kind of tender. It's got a flowery pattern. So that's part of Ukraine's psyche.
And Chris has got his sunflower.
Yeah, my daughter knitted that.
Did she?
Oh.
Yeah, solidarity. We stand with Ukraine. Slava Ukraine.
Heroes Slava.
Thank you both very much
Thank
indeed
you.
for coming in.
It's approaching 8:30.